Be the change you want to see in the bedroom. And with that introduction, warmly welcome to a new episode of Inspirierend Anders or Inspiringly Different. My name is Luca Beutel, and with me together today is Claudia Szerakowski. Hi, Claudia, how are you doing?
Hello, Luca. I'm doing super good.
Great, yeah, the energy is quite high. Claudia, you are working as a love and sexuality coach.
Yeah, I was telling you a little bit earlier that a lot of people confuse me with a sex therapist, right? And a sex coach is something different. So, a sex coach is basically, or coaching is different than therapy because you're not diagnosing something. So I'm not working with just people who have a diagnosable disorder, but just normal people who want to have a better sex life. It's also different because it's results oriented. So we're not, going into the past and digging up things and trying to understand why. We're working with blockages in the present moment and trying to get you to a specific place. So there's a set amount of time that we work together and really focus on getting you to where you want to go rather than therapy, which is a little bit more open-ended and trying to understand your mind. And it's still, I mean, therapy is still really useful. I'm not knocking therapy. But with coaching, you can do a lot of fun stuff that you don't really need therapy for. So, just to have a better orgasm or different kinds of orgasm or feel more connected with your partner or, these things that aren't really like disorders that you would go to a therapist for, but still things that people are looking for in their daily lives. One of the advantages of at least the methodology that I learned with sex coaching is, with therapy, it's very talk based. So you're, really focusing on one part of the brain, which is your cortical brain, it's your conscious brain. But the thing with sexuality and with relationships and love, these things are so subconscious. They're much deeper in the brain. They're in the limbic system, they're in the primal parts of our brain. And a lot of therapies, or at least, talk-based therapies, don't go that deep to get to the feeling level. So we really work on a body level and on a very like feelings based level in order to get those results. So it's quite effective, I have to say.
Yeah, I believe that. Is it for you, are you coaching both genders, like male and female?
At the moment, I'm mostly working with women. So I actually have a mission. So my, Instagram, my business is 999 Goddesses. So my mission is really to help 999 women, and to really come back to their bodies, to start feeling more at home in their bodies and the power and the pleasure that is present in there. I feel like there's so many women who are trying to like blend into the everyday world. So, our society is very masculine. At least Western society is very, very masculine, and a lot of women are trying to fit themselves into this masculine kind of mold. Whereas, our essence is feminine, and it's equal, but it's different. And I think a lot of our modern day problems are based on the fact that we're trying to, mimic men in the workplace or, trying to have it all. And we can have it all, but we have to do it our way.
Yeah, makes no sense to try to be a man when you are a woman. Like from a behavior
Yeah,
perspective, doesn't make sense.
yeah, for sure. And I think another thing to mention is, I do like to talk about feminine and masculine energies because both genders have both. Like, in order
Yeah,
to be a fully
true.
functioning human being, you need to have a healthy masculine and a healthy feminine energy, right? So, the way I describe those is, the healthy masculine is the one that, goes to work, that's very action oriented, results oriented, outwardly focused. And the feminine is more inwards, it's more introspective, meditative, more about being rather than doing. And the reason I'm passionate about the feminine is that, again, in our masculine society, it's very like squashed. It's also very undervalued. So again, that's a big reason why women tend to kind of abandon their feminine nature. But that being said, men also have a feminine side, and especially when I have worked with men or when I do speak with men, if they have issues in their sexuality, a lot of times it's because it's something to do with their feminine side. So right now, to answer your question, I'm mostly working with women, but I love to speak to men about this topic. And whenever I do, the results are so much deeper with men. Like you can just go so deep, and it's really beautiful to witness that transformation.
Good.
To let a man feel really safe enough to be that vulnerable, which men don't have a lot of spaces to be that vulnerable these days. So
no,
it's quite beautiful.
Yeah, when I was a kid, or raised by my dad and my mom, and I think this is a sentence every boy hears at least 1,000 times in his life, like, real men don't cry. It's a perfect example for pushing down your feminine side as a man. It starts when you're a little boy. It's like, oh, don't cry. Real men don't cry when you're hurt. Like, it's okay to cry. So
yes,
it's not okay to cry about every single little thing in life, but it's okay to cry from time to time. So no shame about that. I think our generation does, when we get kids, so that now between 20 and 35, I would say the generation between in this age, we will do a better job with, from my perspective, raising boys to be more feminine, and also letting girls be more masculine when they, or letting girls be more feminine when they want and accept it. Just because I think they also have to push down their feminine side, like you explained it in their work life. They have to push down and try to be masculine, which makes no sense, because it's good that it's different. Makes sense that it's different.
Yes, and actually, a lot of longer term relationships suffer because of a lack of polarity.
Yeah.
So lack of polarity happens when the couple, so polarity is when
opposites attract each other.
Exactly. So when you have the masculine and the feminine. So again, I'm not talking about genders. You can have a feminine man and a masculine woman, or a feminine woman and a masculine man. But that's how attraction happens. It's like a magnet. So a big thing that happens in everyday relationships is that we're not conscious of this lack of polarity, and we lose it. So somebody becomes, so either we get two masculines in the relationship or two feminines in the relationship. And it's like a plane. A long-term relationship is like a plane. So if you have two pilots, so if the masculine is the pilot, if you have two pilots, that plane is going to go all over the place. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be turbulence because, there's two people trying to steer in different directions. But then the opposite is true if you have two feminines. So if the feminine is just a passenger, the plane will never take off. Yeah. It will never go anywhere. So you need to have the passenger and the pilot. And these roles can switch, but it needs to be kind of maintained in order to keep a relationship sexual over a longer term period.
Yeah. Let's take an example. When a girl comes to you and asks, hey, Claudia, can you help me with my sex life? What is the most common thing you talk about with them? Like, what's the most common issue they address?
That's a great question. I work with a lot of women who can't have an orgasm.
They can have.
They cannot.
They cannot.
They cannot.
They can't. Okay.
Either they cannot have any kind of orgasm, or they can have an orgasm by themselves, but not with their partner, with penetrative sex. Or they just don't know all the different kinds of orgasms that a woman can have. And they just literally ask me, like kind of education questions, because it was also my experience, but so many of us are growing up with shame around sex. We can't talk about it. It's way too taboo in our families, and really little education, very little education. If we do get educated, it's about the precautions that you have to take.
Yeah.
STDs, pregnancy. There becomes fear wrapped around our sexuality, and it becomes so taboo. And you know, we don't get to experience and understand the potential of our sexuality.
Yeah.
So a lot of women just come to me and they were like, I think, like, is it like a clitoral orgasm when, you know, the partner is inside me when I'm being penetrated? I'm like, no, there's different kinds of orgasm, and there. I'm thinking of the last session that I did.
Yeah.
It was very fun, but yeah, just really explaining, you know, what's possible. But yeah, usually it's either lack of desire or lack of orgasm, and a different variation of that. So they want a different kind, or they want it with their partner, or any kind of orgasm.
Okay, so most of the time it's a problem that they that they can't experience an orgasm, or they don't know what kind of orgasm they are experiencing or how to
Yeah,
reach it. Um,
yeah,
okay, and then you are explaining a little bit, but also talking about her, like her sex
yes,
life. How are you doing it? Um, and go
yeah,
into full
yeah,
detail.
yeah. Really breaking down, you know, is it a physical thing or is it a mind thing?
Yeah,
So we have,
that's what I thought, because
yeah.
often it's not only a physical thing. It starts like before you get naked.
Yeah, so you know, again, we have it's really about the mind-body connection. So in general, um, I think all humans, not just women, but we are so disconnected from our bodies. We are so in our minds. You know, we're working hard. We're taught to be good students, to learn, to succeed in the workplace, and you know, this is actually the antithesis for, or what's a better word, like. This will actually kill your sexuality because the mind, although it's an important place to start to become aroused, it's not the only place. You really need to be connected to all of your body, especially to the genital area, but all over for women. And a lot of my work is really bringing back that connection. So bringing back the connection to the body, but also the different parts of us that are blocking us from accessing our sexuality and accessing the present moment
What could that
through
be?
pleasure.
What could that be? What's blocking you, for example?
So a lot of the times, one of the biggest things that I see is like inner child. So the inner child comes out because so many, I mean, very few of us have had a beautiful introduction. As I was saying, like we like learn to be afraid of it, and then all of a sudden we are a teenager and we have these crazy instincts, and we're just like, like I'm just gonna go have sex with this guy.
Yeah.
Or you know, sometimes we know that it's something beautiful and important, but our psyche, so the inner child isn't fully ready. Like we kind of push the inner child into sexuality, but nobody explained to her what's going on. Nobody explained to her that it can be beautiful and sacred, even, and socially acceptable. And yeah, she's a big objector. So she will come in and she will say, unconsciously, of course, and a lot of people don't realize it, but if you have fear or shame or avoid sex altogether, sometimes it's the inner child. There's also the inner critic, the inner nun. So a lot of us with religious
Okay.
conditioning. So that's you know a sub personality, a character that you know a voice in our minds that will come out that will block us from really enjoying and giving ourselves permission to feel that pleasure, which is
Mm.
really important. Pleasure is like the glue of the sexual experience. No.
Yeah, pressure is immense. As you said, you don't get really well educated. I mean, you're from the US originally, so
Yes.
your school system is a little bit different from the German school system, but I can relate to what you just said, because we start with sex ed in, I don't know, fifth or sixth grade, sixth or no, later,
Mm.
sixth or seventh grade, I guess. And it's really like you said, you get like the basics, what to do to have sex, so that it
Yeah.
works, and then
Yeah.
you get, okay, but use condoms, please. Use
Yeah.
protection, because it's
Yeah.
dangerous. You don't want to have a child.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and I mean, makes sense to tell people, okay, do it, but do it with protection when they are so
Yeah.
young and unexperienced. But also, it kind of gives the vibe like, maybe you shouldn't do it at all. it's just dangerous.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and in some parts of the US, I mean, they only teach that. They teach abstinence-only education, which when you're full of raging hormones, like not many people will listen to that. So so yeah, then
yeah,
the next best thing is this like, subliminal fear-filled education where you're like, please do this, please take care because there's so much danger. And then that goes into our primal brains is like, whoa, this is something I should be afraid of and not something I should celebrate.
do you think it's different from how boys see it and how girls see it? Because when I think back to when I was a teenie and full of hormones,
Yeah.
the teachers told us that, but I can remember me and my boys, there was only one thing in our mind, like only one thing that mattered.
Yeah.
How's it for girls?
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, yeah, so I think like the testosterone makes it like a very natural thing that the boys are like, whoa, what is this? Like, I need that. No, it's like a very like primal force.
Absolutely.
I think for girls, it's like, it's, yeah, like I said, still very fear, like filled with fear is kind of like our parents tell us, either our parents tell us, like, be careful because the boys only want this one thing. And it's something like, bad that they want that and that they're going to take something from you and you have to protect yourself from it. And the other one is religious conditioning again. So even if it's, I mean, if you have a secular education and stuff, but like still like, we learn our God or whatever you believe in, like won't let me do this outside of a marriage, for example. Or it's like, or I'm going to go to hell if I have sex out of a marriage or if I do things out of order, it's like really a lot of fear, a lot of shame, slut shaming. So for the women who do have sexual experiences early in life, like a lot of sisterhood wounds around, being shamed for either developing early or being desired by boys or rumors or, actually doing it. Like there's a lot of toxicity around the female, around all sexuality these days. And I think from the men's perspective, from the boys' perspective that needs to be addressed is like the issue of porn addiction that's happening. Because the boys are just like from a very early age, again, natural, but they're being exposed to this porn, which is not natural. It's often very violent and it's addictive. It is an addictive substance. But
that's the education we get. Like that's the only real education we get, how it works, and doesn't, I mean, it's when you only get in school teach like, okay, that's how it works.
Exactly.
Technically, then protect yourself and now go out there. And there's porn out there and you watch porn as a boy. Of course you do. Every boy does it. Can't tell me there's someone who doesn't. Then that's your picture you paint in your head, how sex should work.
Yes.
And that's just not right. But when you are a teenie, you don't know that is not right. That's what you believe. It should work like that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, like you said, it's the first things, like first visual that you probably are learning from as a boy. And then you bring that into your first experience. And the girls, usually we don't know our bodies so well at an early age, or, it's just our first experiences, or we're taught that it's an experience that you only have with a partner. So we never learn to explore our bodies, what we like and what we want, so that we can educate the boy or the guy about, whoa, this does not work for me. Like, please go slower.
That's the best example. Like, please go slower. When you watch porn, it's most of the time speed.
Jackhammer.
Speed is like, hammer it in as often as possible.
And the issue that happens is that, well, first of all, like when you go fast, it's pleasurable for the man, but for the woman, she doesn't have the time to feel. She doesn't have time to feel that pleasure. It just becomes like what's happening to me, because you don't have that time and that space to really enjoy. And another thing that happens is that, so the boys learn from porn and then bring that into the sexual experience, and then the girls learn from the guy who learned from porn. So if they feel, if their body doesn't look a certain way, if their genitals don't look a certain way, or if they're not, having an explosive orgasm all the time as loudly and as, crazily as the porn star, like, they think that something's wrong with them. So many women come to me and they're like, I look like this, or, they're so worried because they're trying to fit into the porn model that all started, with this lack of education. Yeah. So this is what my passion is. I followed my passion into teaching people about the beauty and the sanctity of sexuality and the power that we have, all of us, that we have inside.
Awareness, like get awareness for sex and for your body and what you really want and what is only what you maybe learned from porn, from this toxic circle. Just
exactly
talked about. Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, we could go on and on about these things in porns, which just are not happening in real life. You talked about pressure. When I go back to, we talked about when you said a lot. You mainly coach girls, so it makes sense.
Women.
Sorry, you mainly coach women. Sorry. But you also had talks or coaching sessions with boys. So what would be the number one issue they have when they come to you?
I think some of the biggest issues for men, again, it's lack of education and porn. But another thing is their relationship with, their genitals, with either the size of their penis or that it doesn't perform when, they want it to or when they expect it to. Like it's really like the relationship, it's very sensitive. It's a very sensitive relationship, and the responsiveness of the penis has a lot to do with the emotional state of the man. So again, if you hear boys don't cry and you have all of this emotional energy pent up, someday, the penis won't become erect when it's time to go. And I think another misconception that both people share is that, in order to have sex, the penis has to be erect. Like, it's possible. First of all, sex, right now, our definition of sex is, penetrative, right? Like, penetration is sex. Yeah. But sex is so much more. There's so many different kinds, as we all know. And it's not even like just that moment. That might be getting to climax, but it's all the moments. It's the touch, it's the foreplay, it's the the flirting 24 hours in advance. This is all a part of the dance of the masculine feminine polarities. Yeah. It starts way outside of the bedroom.
A lot of men would now interrupt you and say, that's just a women view. Like, I don't need flirting. Just come to the point. Come on.
Yeah, let's just get to the penetration. Yeah. Again, that's the masculine model, and I don't want to shame that, but there is a lot more. There is a lot more to it, and actually, that common perception of sex is just being that in and out. Men think that they can only have one orgasm, but you can actually train yourself to have multiple.
Oh, tell me.
You can
tell me the secret hours. Now.
Yeah. I'll have to make a course on it or something. But I'll tell you the secret. It's being present and breathing. Mm-hmm. It's breathing, because sexual energy is your turn on is sexual energy. So you can learn to manipulate this energy and to move this energy throughout your body. So I'll give you guys a really good tip. So this is my number one tip for anybody just kind of dipping their toes in this
carefully,
world.
Guys. Listen carefully.
Yes. People pay me for this information. So you can breathe into, where your turn on is. So for men, it's usually the genitals. So for men, it starts in the genitals and goes outwards. For women, it's the opposite. It starts outwards and goes in towards the genitals. Mm-hmm. So for both, it's about breathing into the genital space and using your breath and your focus to move your energy up through your body. So this is a practice. It's a Taoist practice. It's called the microcosmic orbit, or you could call it pleasure circuit, whatever feels best. But you can like move your energy using your breath and your focus up your spine, up to the crown of your head, and down the front of your body. And doing this in a circuit. This spreads the sexual energy. This is also how you have a full body orgasm. Any kind of orgasm that isn't just genitally based. You do this with breath and with focus.
Okay. Thank you very much for that free tip.
Yeah, you're welcome.
And now,
boys, it takes some practice, huh?
Yeah. Go to the bedroom and practice.
Yeah. But also, it's super important for men because the masculine has a lot of sexual energy.
Yeah.
But if you just go and if you just, if you self-pleasure, if you masturbate, like obviously no shame, but men lose energy when they ejaculate. So you can actually, by harnessing your sexual energy, you can use that energy for more of your personal projects, for more of your daily projects. You can invest that into your work, into your life's purpose, into your sports. A lot of famous, or a lot of these like Olympic and famous, really good sports people, and specifically men, harness their sexual energy. So, coaches say, like, do not waste this precious energy, like keep it in your body.
No wives allowed
your mind is sharper.
7 days before the important game. No wives allowed before the Super Bowl. Yeah.
Right? Is that a common fact? Yeah.
It's like, it's something coaches do when they are like in hotels somewhere far apart from home.
Yeah.
It's like no wives.
Like trying to separate it. Yeah. Because you have a lot of purpose and a lot of clarity.
Yeah.
Like when a man holds his sexual energy inside, that is a man not to be reckoned with.
Yeah, better take care. When it was actually a funny story when I had a sex ed training evening, a few hours with a good friend of mine who called me spontaneously like, hey, Luca, what's up? What you doing tomorrow night? And I'm like, I don't know, nothing. Why you asking? Let's work on our sex education, shall we? I wasn't thrilled, to be honest, but he talked me into it, and we were 20, I think, around about 20 men sitting there from all ages. I think I was the youngest, and the oldest was like in his 60s, maybe. That was also a stereotype, like when people are 60 and in a relationship, they don't have sex anymore. Oh, they have. What he told us, they have a lot of sex. So, and it was a fun time. It was a fun evening to spend because I didn't know how much I don't know. Like incredible what I don't know about my own body and my own sexuality. You don't learn nothing in school. Like no one comes to you and teaches you how to use it, how to feel, how to take care of it. And also no one, for us men, also no one teaches us how to please a woman, right? We have to figure it out on our own. Like when you're teenagers, you don't talk to each other really in bed. It's like nothing you really do.
Because you don't know. Nobody knows what's going on. We're just like, okay, let's try to figure it out, like you said, and it's slow, but these workshops such as this is like fast track.
Exactly. And do you think we should change I talk from a German perspective, but let's make it just a global initiative. You think we should change the sex ed in schools in general?
That's an amazing question. My obvious answer is yes, but I think, I can already hear all the resistance and the controversy and the blah, blah, blah. Like, it feels like a lot of work to have to change the education in schools. But I would, the way that I would change it is to offer all the perspectives. So, yes, do be careful. Yes, do wear condoms and, be careful of these things. But don't just focus on that. I read an amazing quote the other day. I forgot what it was. It was like, only teaching people about like STDs and pregnancy in sex education is like, I forgot, it was like a restaurant. I won't be able to remember it here, but
Go on.
but it was an amazing analogy because it's like you're just offering like, scraps, but you don't focus on the potential and the power that's present. And also I would invite educators to really, focus on some of the benefits as well. Like when you are fully in your power as a human and your sexuality is integrated, sometimes it's a bit abstract. And maybe I wouldn't say in school, but at 18, I think this should be like, here's your pamphlet. Like now you definitely are an adult, and like these are things that you have to know. And
you can drive a car now, so you should know about your body.
Yeah. Well, that you're an individual, independent adult, and you can think for yourself. I see the issue as like, people have different religious beliefs. When they're still teenagers, they're still kind of under the household of their family. But as soon as the day you turn 18, you like are responsible for yourself, and like nobody can take that away from you. So, learning about the power and the possibility of your sexuality.
Yeah, possibility is a nice,
like a manual, like a car manual or something.
I still got the one pager at home that I took.
Yeah,
from this
that's
workshop.
right, from your workshop.
Yeah, it's great. You can you forget so much things about it, but you can always get it out and read through it again. And I would really recommend everyone to do this. Female, male, doesn't matter. Do it because there are so many things we don't know that we don't know them.
Totally. And this is something I love about sexuality, is that there's always something to learn. Like if it's not the theory, it's the practice. Like once you like go into this world, whether it's like Tantra or Taoism, like every sexual experience becomes different no matter what. Like you never have that routine sex because it's just, it's just mind-blowing. This world is mind-blowing.
The possibilities are mind-blowing.
Yeah, exactly.
Claudia, how does it come that this topic is so important to you?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, as we were saying earlier, like I grew up in a very religious household, very taboo. It was very much something separate. I got this fear education. And eventually, when you push things away and you push them into the subconscious, they come out and they actually control you. So I went into my sex life I treated it as something very casual, as something very, everyone else is doing it, like everyone else is doing it in the movies. It's like this, like it's just something casual. It's something normal to just use your sexuality and to explore. And yes, it is very natural as a teenager to explore. But I think when it's something very detached and it has power over you, then, I went into a lot of, incidences that weren't the healthiest. And actually, I didn't do it with love. I didn't, start my sexuality with love. And this led me to, all kinds of experiences, some really good, some very bad. I feel like I've had them all. I had a period of 3 years where I had no sexual desire. I was depressed. Wow. I was depressed. I had panic attacks. I was really just struggling to be like a functioning human being. And so then I came to Europe. So I grew up in the US. I came to Europe and I kind of restarted. I got like this fresh start to my life, and I restarted my sex life. And I realized that I had a lot of pain, and it was very difficult for me to get to orgasm. It took me a long time. there was a lot of like, the guy was like, is this going to happen today? He was putting a lot of energy. It was very beautiful. He was like very
Claudia,
committed.
I
but,
have
like,
places to
so
be.
long.
Come on, hurry up.
Yeah, it was like, and also I was internalizing that pressure. So obviously when there's pressure, orgasm isn't just like a formula. Like if there's pressure, it's going to actually escape. It's going to go farther away. So now I know this, but back then I had no idea. So I eventually came to this tool. It's called the Jade Egg.
Jade
And
Egg.
it's a beautiful, yes. So I love, this is my favorite tool ever in sexuality. So it's basically a gemstone. This is for women or any person who has female genitalia. So it's a little gemstone. It's shaped like an egg, and you put it inside, and there's a set of practices. And after that, my sexuality transformed. Like everything. I became more sensitive, more ready, more desire. I was like, whoa, like, is this still the same thing? Before I was like, I don't understand, like, why is sex so great? Like, I went 3 years without having sex. And then after the Jade Egg, it was like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever. And I started learning about, this is a Taoist practice. So it's from ancient China. And I started learning a little bit more and like learning about how it's connected to the rest of our own vitality, and that you can use your sexuality to manifest things, to have, again, more energy in your life, to move emotions, so that, I working with my sexuality, I healed all of like the root origins of my depression, of my anxiety. I don't feel those things anymore because I got to the underlying root. I was disconnected from, again, my feminine nature, but also my sexuality and my emotions and what it is to live life. Underneath all of this, sex is life. It's the creative force.
It's the greatest thing in the world.
When you aren't feeling this, yeah. I mean, there's so many beautiful things, but this is the source. This is where the push for life comes from. So when you're disconnected from this, you're disconnected from life. How beautiful! Like, how beautiful is it to reconnect to life again through your sexuality? This is how I got here, and this is why I'm so passionate about it. So originally I was working in sustainability. I think we spoke about this, trying to save the world, and in the end I had to save myself.
Save the world through sex. I mean,
exactly. This is my life's mission.
Save the world
this is what I came here
through
for.
Better sex. I think it's a good plan. Could work.
Yeah.
It could really work.
Thanks. It's so fun.
Make people, I think also a big step would be if we would be more open to talk about it.
Yes.
That's
step number one.
General openness to this topic is pretty high. So
yeah.
But
it's changing.
From a man, it absolutely. From a man's perspective, I would say with my friends, you don't talk about such things. Let's talk about football. Come on.
Yeah, that's what's socially acceptable. But for example, your friend brought you to this workshop at 20 years old. Like, I bet you're still thanking him today, no?
I am.
How beautiful is that?
Yeah, it opened a new world for me. Honestly, it was a total game changer. I
love that.
In the bedroom.
I love that. Yeah. So talk with your guy friends more about sex.
I will.
To the listeners.
I will recommend this podcast episode to everyone. Guys, listen to this podcast and get up your sex ed. It's important.
Yes.
And do it now better than later.
Always. But it's always possible. Like you said, like, at 60, like, I see women who are like in their 70s reclaiming their sexuality. Like, it's amazing. It's amazing. It only gets better with age.
Absolutely. You get more experience.
If you're doing it right.
You learn more if you want to learn more. Like this training we had, where there's over 60 people, where this man said over 6 years old was, he had a lot to talk about, a lot of stories to tell. He was funny, and it was. I remember when I went into the room, we were the last ones, and it was how you expect it to be. It was a half circle. And everybody was sitting, only men, and they were all sitting like legs crossed, arms crossed, and nobody's looking the other person in the eye. No one.
Yeah.
No one is talking. No one is making any movements. It's like, let's get out of here pretty soon. Come on. let's get this over with.
And afterwards,
Afterwards,
how did it change?
Most of them were really relieved and like
open.
Okay, was a good thing I came here.
Yes.
Yeah.
Amazing.
What's your outlook for the next years? How you wanna grow with your coaching?
Oh, that's a great question. So I don't plan ahead. Like I've learned in life, like just don't. I mean, I would never, if you asked me, even 3 or 4 years ago, like if you would have told me back then that I would be a sex coach today, I would have been like, what the hell are you talking about?
Never, ever.
So I've learned not to make plans. But one thing that I can share that I am planning now is I'm going to be offering a jade egg course. So for any women listening,
okay.
Yeah, so this will come out in March, just in time for Easter, talking about eggs. So I'm going to be, I did that on purpose. So I'm offering a group coaching program for anybody who identifies as a woman. And I'll be teaching these practices that really, brought me back home to my body, to my pleasure, to my sexuality, to what it means to be a woman. So this is my plan for the next few months. And from there, we'll see. I don't know. I love watching the universe unfold through me. I don't know. Life just happens. In each moment. Who knows what will happen?
If you want to make God laugh, tell him your plans,
Yeah, exactly.
So
exactly.
Just live the moment and see where it takes you. Sounds great.
Totally.
Claudia, that sounds great. Yeah. So I asked you a few questions before. Let's get to them.
Yes.
Let's start with the funniest one. Claudia, what is your guilty pleasure?
I think I offered a sneak peek before, but I actually have trained myself not to feel guilty about pleasures. As a sex coach, I have to say that I love pleasure, and I try to integrate that guilt. So, but if I do feel guilty about pleasure, it's the amount of cookies that I eat. So so I live in Barcelona, and I'm also gluten-free, but there's a bakery, and they make the most amazing buckwheat gluten-free with chocolate cookies, and I can eat so many of them. And I try to eat really healthy, and in general, I don't recommend women to eat a lot of sugar because it affects your sexuality. But these cookies are just the perfect amount of sugar, and I just adore them. And sometimes I do start to feel guilty even.
All right, we got a cookie addict here. A little cookie addict. All right.
Yes.
What's your song recommendation?
Oh, so I have been loving, it's an oldie, but it's I really love it. I use it with with my clients in the sessions. It's called I Love It by Icona Pop.
Okay.
And I love it because it's all about just letting go and, not being inhibited and, expressing yourself. And I just, I invite my clients a lot of the times to just really express themselves. It's just very high energy, and I encourage them to start moving that energy. If it's anger, if it's frustration, if it's just, that pent up energy, it's a really good song just to get it all out of you. And it's so fun.
It's it's this high intensity song I crashed my car into the bridge. What should I let it burn? I threw your shit into the, I don't know.
Yeah, it's so good for processing rage. Exactly. So it's so good for processing rage and processing anger, which is stops a lot of women from really experiencing their passion and their desire because we aren't taught to outwardly express our anger. So through dance and through this song especially is a really good way.
Who's someone you would like to listen to on this podcast?
Yes, I want to nominate my friend Sylvia Susak. She's here in Barcelona. She was one of the first friends that I made here, but she has an amazing astrology business.
Okay.
So I was a huge skeptic. I'm sure a lot of people are a huge skeptic about astrology, but she puts it in a way that just makes sense to me. And the way she teaches it is whoa, and now I check my horoscope every month. I'm what is a good day that I can, especially if you're launching a program or something. I've learned, and especially as I've been coming back into my body and living with the cycles of nature, I feel that these things, these outward forces, do affect us on some level if we are open to that.
That sounds really, really interesting because it's such a controversial topic. Great. Love to talk to her.
She'll turn you on to it. I promise.
Great. Claudia, I would say you tell the people where they can find you, where they can find your trainings, your homepage,
Yes.
Instagram account, and so on. And after that, I just wrap it up.
Yeah, sure. So I'm very active on Instagram right now. So it's at 999 goddesses. That's where I put all my info out. You can get to my website from there. I do also have a website, www.Claudia Szerakowski. It's very long, SZERAKOWSKI.com. And yeah, you can sign up. I have some freebies on there as well.
Claudia, thank you very much for coming on the podcast today, sharing your story and also very personal insights about sexuality and the love life. And I had a great time with you the last 45 minutes.
Yeah, me too. It was my pleasure.
Thank you for being here. And guys, stay active out there. Practice with the tips Claudia gave you. And if you have further questions, you know where to find her. She is happy to help. Doesn't matter who you are. Just ask her. She will help. And take care, stay healthy, and stay sexual active. Until next week.
Yeah.
See you guys. Bye-bye.